Welcome back to my darkroom. Throw away your timers because today we're going to talk about developing film by inspection. Before time and temperature became the standard way to get repeatable results with the amount of development for your film, you would develop by inspection, which means you would actually turn a light on during development and check the progress of your film. Not just any light though, so we're going to talk about that in just a moment. It's still a technique a lot of people still use today. It's less rigorous science of time and temperature to get a wanted density and more intuitive, more experience-based. Edward Weston famously used inspection for developing all of his film. So did his sons. Michael A. Smith, who passed away a few years ago, and his wife Paula also used it and taught it, and she still to this day uses that technique, as do a lot of people who like their work, went to their workshops, and so forth. I myself developed all my film by inspection when I was in grad school. So for a few years, I did only development by inspection for all of my large format. So it's certainly a technique you can still use. And it works just fine. It just takes time and experience to make sure that you get it right. So what we're going to do is talk about some of the equipment that you need, and then just the basics of how to do it. And then it's up to you to actually do a few tests and see if it's something you want to try. I will say, roll film, while it can be done, is very, very tricky, because when you have the film on a reel, you're only going to see the outermost images, and you're really not going to get a good idea of what the innermost images look like. Taking them off the reel, looking at them, putting them back on, all while wet and in the dark, is not going to be the best experience. So it really is something for sheet film use. Now, the equipment that you need, pretty simple. You need a safe light. So I have my Kodak 10 by 12 safe light here, and you don't need a special bulb. I figure if I have a large safe light, I might as well use a long bulb. So I just got one off of Amazon. It is a 40 watt bulb. You need a 15 watt. So to that point, you can get a 15 watt. I've got just down here a standard 15 watt bulb, and it's, about this long. And it doesn't really light up the whole thing, so I got a longer bulb. To get this to the right intensity, I have a dimmer switch. It's down here on the floor. So this plugs into a dimmer switch. I dimmed it using a light meter, actually a lux meter, take that back, and measured the lux of the 15 watt bulb from 1 meter away. Then swapping bulbs 1 meter away, lower the intensity of this to match that of the 15 watt bulb. So that's the method I used to get this to work. And you can see here, works just fine, but it is dimmer. Then you're going to need the correct safe light filter. And this is going to be different than your black and white printing. For that, you would use either a red or an amber filter. For this, you want a Raton number 3 dark green. It's the only one you can use for this. Why green? I don't know. There's a lot of speculation as to why green versus any other color. Got water on this. Some people say because that's the color most sensitive to the human eye. Some say it's because panchromatic film is less sensitive to green. Who knows? But green works, and I really, really don't recommend anything else. It's also very, very dark. How dark? When this is in place and that bulb is on, you can't see it. Even when I turn the lights out, you can't see it. It takes time for your eyes to adjust to the dark, for you to be able to see 15 watts of light going through this. Now that's 15 watts of a tungsten bulb. Don't try to get like a 4 watt LED. That's going to be way, way, way too bright. So if you can turn this on and you can see that it's on, it's too bright of a bulb. You will only see it after your eyes acclimate to the dark for 5-6 minutes. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in. I've got my dimmer switch on, so this plugs into the dimmer, and then the dimmer is plugged into a foot switch. And the reason I have a foot switch is because I don't want to pull this little metal chain in the dark with wet hands. It's not fun. I don't want developer dripping down my arm. So I use a foot switch. So I went to Harbor Freight, just down the street from me, and they have two kinds of foot switches. One, you step on, light turns on. You step on again, light goes off. It's called an intermittent light switch. You don't want one of those. You want a momentary light switch. When I step on the pedal, the light comes on. When I take my foot off, the light goes out. That way I don't accidentally leave the safe light on for the next batch of film. I did that once, bad idea. So the light can only be on while I have pressure on the foot switch. That keeps me from ruining the next round, because you're not going to see the light on when the lights are on. It's too dim. All right. The only other thing that I have to advise before we get going is T-Max film does not work. You can use any developer you like. You can use any film that you like. But T-Max 100 and 400 have such a strong magenta dye to them that under the green safe light, the whole image looks black. You can't judge anything. Does not work. Time and temperature only with T-Max films. Any other film, I'm using FOMO 100, will work perfectly fine. And what we're looking for, and we'll see it when we're in the dark, hopefully, you're going to have a general white milkiness over the whole image. Your highlight areas are going to appear like dark patches, and you are trying to judge how dark those patches are before going on to the next step. Takes a little bit of practice. Probably not going to get it right the first time. So I recommend you develop a roll or a sheet to your standard development time, and then do an identical shot and look at that one under the safe light to kind of get an idea of what those densities look like. And you can kind of build your way up. So my standard time is going to be about 9.5 minutes. So I can look at it like around 7.5, and then keep developing. Maybe at 8, I can look again. And then at 9, I'll give it one last look. And you can kind of see how dark those patches come up, and then move it on over, and you'll have a side-by-side of a standard time and temperature and your inspection, and get a feel for what those patches are supposed to look like. Hopefully everything will work out here. Because it's such a dim light, I'm going to crank up the ISO on my video camera as high as it can go, and we'll probably even have to do some post-production to kind of lift that up so you can see what's going on. And then that's it. Once we have everything, we'll scan these in and see what they look like. If I can, I'll make actual prints, but I'm kind of running low on time today, so we're probably just going to scan these at the end and look at them from there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get everything set up. We'll turn out the lights. We'll develop some film. Now that we've been in the developer for, I don't know, about 6.5 minutes, we're going to click the lights on here at the 7-minute mark and check our progress. So I've got my foot switch ready to go, and here we are. All right, so this is what our film looks like. And I've got the shadow of the camera in the way, so we'll try to move that. You can see it from the emulsion side. It looks pretty good, but the base side is where we really want to check it. So you're looking for these highlight areas, which are going to be your dark areas. And you don't want to keep the light on too long. I've got it a little long, but I've made spares just in case. And you're trying to judge whether or not these highlight densities are enough. And typical development time for me is around 9.5 minutes. So this is a little on the lower side at this point. We're going to go ahead and put this in the stop bath and continue with the other sheet of film. So we'll put that over here. And now with the lights out, we'll continue developing and we'll check at maybe the 9-minute mark and see if we're ready to go. Okay, we're at the 9-minute mark now. Remember, 9.5 is about where I normally go. So once again, this is the emulsion side and it is darker. We're going to flip over to the base side, however, where we need to judge it. And looking at the highlights, they are a little bit more dense. Sorry, I'm trying to keep the shadow of the camera, which is above the tray, off the film so we can see. Also get the glare off so you can see. And once again, I've got my sky area here. I have this white door here, and I'm judging those highlights. Get down here a little closer. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure this is where we need to go. So we're going to go ahead and take this one out. So here we are. I've rearranged my trays here in the dark. So I moved my developer there, and this is the stop bath. So looking at the two sheets next to each other in the stop bath, the differences are subtle. And where I'm looking is this white door, which is right here, and the densities of them. So it's a white door. I've got almost complete sunlight shining on it, so it is kind of a dense area. But I've also got this one-way sign, so it's a white arrow and a black, as American one-way signs are, and this white painted wall frame here. So these are the areas that I'm looking at. The sky, it was just a blank white sky. And this is what we typically want to judge from. And remember, you need to look at the base side. The emulsion sides, it can be a little tricky looking at the emulsion side because it doesn't quite have that milkiness in the shadows that you want. In this case, I do have deep shadows here. They do look good, but it can be a little harder to judge the development. It'll look further developed on the emulsion side than it really is. So looking at the base side, while it does get that kind of haze from the milkiness, it'll be a little easier to judge. So now, if we kind of shuffle things around here, so I can leave the light on at this point since development stopped. So I'm going to keep holding my foot down, and we're going to see if we can shuffle this around and get my fixer in. Get my fixer tray in place. Here we go. Now we can take our film and go ahead and fix it. I'm going to give you an idea of how it clears. I'm going to set my timer for 3 minutes. And as you can see, it cleared right up. And you're really not going to see much image at this point because now it's all silver. It is there. If I hold it up, I can see it. You guys may not be able to, but there we are. Cleared, and it's only been 30 seconds. I'm going to do a 3-minute fix. All right. We'll continue with this. We'll get in the wash. We'll turn the lights on and talk a little bit more about it. And there you have it. So I've got my 2 shots. Here's one of them. It is, of course, dried now, but I've got good density. I'm looking at my light here as a kind of a light box. I've got my white door. I can see the 6-panel pattern in it fairly well. I've got a white downspout. Again, I can still see the texture. Sky is not too crazy. My other shot here, which is the lower development time. Everything is still there, but the highlights are not as bright. This was kind of like an N-1 development time, but I feel like the density is probably going to be more where we want it. And that's because that white door at a 45-degree angle was just getting blasted by late afternoon sunlight, so it was pretty intense. I do have the texture and detail that I want, so that is most likely going to be the correct time. We'll scan it, we'll look at them here as we close out, but that's how you develop film by inspection. Not hard, again, it's just a matter of practice. And if you enjoy doing it, by all means, do it on every sheet of film. There's no reason why you can't. It's still a perfectly valid way of working. It's just not the standard way of working anymore. So I do appreciate you watching. If you like to help support this channel, you can go down to the super thanks little heart down here where you can donate one time to this video to help get more film and developer to do things such as this. Or if you'd like to become a sustaining member, you can do so up in the membership tab and have a month-to-month sustaining membership. That also helps keep this channel going. Or you can get merchandise from my merchandise store, links down in the description. I appreciate that as well, and at least you get something tangible to go with it. So thank you for watching. Get out there, develop some film, try doing it by inspection, and see how things go for you. We'll see you next time.